In other news, most committees in the National Assembly wrap up their inspections of government agencies today, holding their final audit sessions. The government offices still up for audit are the Intelligence Agency and the Presidential Office. But as our Kim Minji reports, lawmakers will soon have another big issue to take on: next year's national budget.
Rival political parties on Tuesday continued their broadsides against each other during the final sessions of Parliament's audit of government offices. At the Foreign Affairs and Unification Committee, lawmakers clashed over Seoul's softer approach to North Korea. The ruling party was firm on its support for both dialogue and humanitarian aid, while the conservative opposition party said stronger sanctions and pressure is the way to curb Pyongyang's provocations. To this, the unification minister said that South Korea is open to talks with North Korea, even before the regime gives up its nuclear weapons, if a demonstrable will to abandon nuclear weapons can be seen, although he noted that Pyongyang doesn't seem to have that intent. On the energy front, rival parties continue to clash over the government's plans to phase out nuclear power, going back and forth over President Moon's decision to suspend and then resume the construction of new reactors. Opposition lawmakers criticized the government's push to go nuclear-free, saying it's taking South Korea in the opposite direction of the global trend. But the ruling party was firm in its view that the issue of the two reactors and overall energy policy should be dealt with separately, and called its nuclear-free position a policy for the country's future. And like most of the last 20 days, the parties traded barbs over irregularities and missteps under the previous and current administrations. The ruling party said the audits help shed light on the intelligence agency's interference in politics under the past conservative governments. The opposition criticized what it called the government's poor vetting of candidates for key government posts, calling on the nominee to have to head the newly created SME ministry to step down. With that, 13 standing committees wrap up their audits, while the country's intelligence agency and presidential office will be up for screening in early November. Other parliamentary committees will now gear up to start deliberations of next year's budget. That process, likely to be very contentious, will begin after President Moon gives a policy speech on the topic at the National Assembly on Wednesday. Kim Minji, Arirang News.